Please, tell me, what did my mother do to you? Daniela cried. Salem released his hands from her neck, took a deep breath, and began his story. He explained that he and Aria, Daniela's mother, were twins. They grew up together happily, and their union was inseparable. People admired their relationship and prayed for their children to be like them. Salem and Aria were from a very wealthy family, and all they needed was provided. However, everything changed when they gained admission into the university. Aria, who was very beautiful and charmed every man that came her way, started to lose focus. She no longer studied like before and spent the majority of her time at the club. Her parents tried several times to change her ways, but she remained unchanged. Things truly took a dark turn after the death of their parents. Seeing that Salem was very focused and dedicated to his work, their parents willed 80% of their assets to him and left 20% for Aria. This made Aria very jealous and bitter because she was the eldest and deserved the lion's share. Driven by greed and envy, Aria visited their family lawyer and urged him to give her Salem's share and give Salem hers. She equally promised to give the lawyer 30% of her share if he complied. Barrister Donald, the lawyer in charge, blatantly refused and ordered her to leave his office immediately. Aria left his office disappointed, but she promised never to give up. She had already made several plans on what to do with her parents' money, and she wasn't going to let Salem get in her way. Since she graduated, she hasn't been able to secure any meaningful job. She has relied solely on men and her parents' money. Meanwhile, Salem had already secured a well-paying job in his father's company. The next day, Aria met with two men and planned on how to eliminate her brother. After their discussion, she handed them the sum of 200,000 naira. The men collected the money and assured her with a smile. That night, just as Salem was about to go home from work, two men blocked his path. But before he could say a word, they bundled him and threw him into their car. An hour later, Salem opened his eyes to find himself in an uncompleted building with his hands and legs tied. He tried to scream for help, but the two men appeared and gave him a very hot slap on his face. Just a few minutes later, Aria appeared, holding a dangerous object in her hands. Salem looked at her with great shock. "Aria, what are you doing here?" Salem asked with surprise. "I'm here to end it all, my beloved brother. Our parents gave you everything and left me with nothing. Do you know how it feels to be abandoned?" Aria asked. "But why are you blaming me? You brought this upon yourself." Salem said, "Shut that your mouth, you silly child. Today will be your last day on this earth," Aria said coldly. Without hesitation, she released her hands and a sharp sound echoed through the room. Salem collapsed to the ground and died minutes later. But before he gave up the ghost, he promised Aria that his spirit would not rest until he took revenge. No one knew what had happened to Salem, not even their relations. He passed away in the cold hands of his sister, whom he once shared everything with. His body was gone, but his spirit never left. 2 months later, Aria took over her father's company, including all that once belonged to Salem. But Salem didn't rest. His body wasn't buried properly, and his spirit roamed around the streets seeking vengeance. Life was going well for Aria. She got married to a millionaire and traveled around the world. To her, she had done nothing wrong but take what rightfully belonged to her. 3 months into her marriage, she took in. Her pregnancy journey was easy and stress-free. No morning sickness or complications. And on the day of her delivery, she delivered safely. Daniela came out of her mother's womb that day looking too quiet. She rarely cried and slept all day. However, when she turned 5, Aria started to notice something strange about Daniela. Whenever Daniela was alone, she spoke to the air like she was speaking to someone. She laughed even when no one said a joke. And sometimes, she played with herself like she was playing with someone. Aria was worried at first, but didn't think too much about it. Salem came into Daniela's life when she was just 7 years old. That day, her parents had gone to work, leaving her alone with her maid. Daniela sat alone playing as usual. But minutes later, she started noticing a strange feeling around her neck area. She touched it softly, but there was nothing there. Then suddenly, a second head appeared on her neck and spoke softly to her. Daniela was terrified, and when she looked at the mirror and saw a second head on her neck, she nearly passed out. She screamed, but her maid was too deep in her sleep to hear her cry. "Calm down, my dear," Salem consoled her. "I'm just your friend," he said. Salem calmed her down, and hours later, they started conversing like they had known each other for years. And ever since then, Salem never left her side. He was always there to keep her company. Even when her parents paid little attention to her, he was always there to make her feel loved. With time, they grew to become best friends. "So you see, this is why I haven't rested," Salem continued. "Your mother took my life, and now I must take yours in turn. I must make you feel the pain I felt years ago. Please," Daniela begged, "spare my life. I promise to seek justice on your behalf. Do not make me pay for my mother's sins. I'm begging you," Daniela cried bitterly. Moved by her tears, Salem promised to let her go if only she made her mother pay for all that she did. That night, Daniela sat on her bed thinking. She felt very bad about everything that happened to Salem, but on the other hand, she couldn't imagine reporting her mother to the police. She loved her mother so much to do such a thing. The day the school went on break, Daniela packed her bags and headed home straight. When she got home, she approached her mother immediately. She didn't eat or remove her school uniform. To her, the issue on ground was very urgent. "Mom, who is Salem?" Daniela began. Aria's eyes widened in shock. "Where did you hear that name from?" "Mom, just answer me please," Daniela said. "He's your uncle, but he died many years ago," Aria replied. "He died many years ago, or you unalived him?" Daniela asked. Aria landed her a very hot slap. "Will you shut up your mouth, you silly child? What do you think you are saying?" Aria asked angrily. "He told me everything, Mom. He told me how your greed pushed you to unalive him." "Mom, you are very wicked. I cannot imagine having a mother like you," Daniela cried. That night, Daniela couldn't sleep. She lay on her bed tossing and turning. She couldn't believe that God gave her a mother like Aria, a mother who would do anything for money. That night, she thought of how to make things right and make her mother change her ways for good. The next morning, she got up early as usual, and after taking her bath and eating, she went to her mother's private room to search for something. Just when she was about to leave, her leg kicked a wooden box on the ground. She picked up the box and kept it in its rightful place, but something deep within her told her to open the box. She obeyed and opened it. Inside were her mother's diaries, where she recorded vital moments of her life. The cover page of one of the diaries read, "My regrets." Curious, Daniela opened it, and when she read its contents, she nearly broke down in tears. The diary contained her mother's evil secrets, secrets she buried beneath her wealth and status. Daniela broke down in tears again. "God, why did you give me a mother like this?" she cried bitterly. The next day, Daniela approached her mother again, but this time, she was a bit calm and collected. "Mom, you told me your parents were very rich and that you never lacked anything. So why did you do it? Why did you unalive your own parents?" she asked. Aria's jaw dropped. "My goodness, who is feeding you with all these lies about me? Where did you hear that from?" Aria asked angrily. "Mom, you are breaking my heart. Why did you choose to be so evil and heartless? I loved you with everything in me, but right now, I don't think you deserve my love anymore. Look, don't mess with me this morning. How can you believe lies about your own mother? Go to your room right now," Aria yelled angrily. That night, Aria couldn't sleep. First, it was Salem her daughter talked about. Now, she was beginning to uncover hidden secrets about her. I need to act fast before this girl ruins my career. I can't allow my years of hard work go down the drain just like that. I must do something immediately, she said. The next morning, Aria met with 2 men and they planned on how to silence Daniela forever. The plan was simple. They would kidnap her and beat her until she fell into a coma. With that, she will remain speechless until Aria finally decides what to do with her. That day, Aria called Daniela and told her she wanted to take her out so they could fix things. Daniela hesitated at first, but eventually agreed. They set off, weaving through busy streets, until Aria suddenly veered into a different route. Daniela's heart skipped a bit, but she remained calm because deep down, she believed that her mother would not harm her. A few moments later, Aria parked the car by a lonely road. She came down and pretended like she wanted to urinate in the bush. A few seconds later, some men came out and bundled Daniela away. Aria screamed for help, feigning shock as if she had no idea of what just happened. The moment the men sped away, her expression hardened and the acts vanished. "Let's see how you plan to expose me now, you foolish child," she sneered. "Instead of you to stand by your mother, you chose to destroy me. If I could unalive my own parents, then what makes you think I wouldn't do the same to anyone who stands in my way?" she said mischievously. When Daniela opened her eyes, she found herself in an uncompleted building just like her uncle Salem. Her legs and hands were tied and her eyes blindfolded. Minutes later, some men came into the room and tried to harass her. But just as they raised their hands to beat her, an invincible force flung them away. One of the men sustained a head injury and the others lost their lives on the spot. Salem appeared immediately and carried Daniela away. On the other side, Aria sat in her room smiling to herself. In her mind, everything was settled, but little did she know that her end was near. She sat on her bed waiting to receive feedback from the men, but there was none. It'd been 6 hours since the incident happened. She tried calling them several times, but no one answered. Hours later, her husband, Mr. Jude, came back from work. Immediately Aria saw him, she went crazy. "They have kidnapped our daughter, my husband," she cried bitterly. "They have taken our only child away." Mr. Jude embraced her and promised to report the incident to the police. Mr. Jude didn't look tense at all, and this made Aria a bit worried. He didn't even act like someone whose child had just been kidnapped. He simply dropped the suitcase on the table and went inside to rest. Aria was stunned, but she composed herself. It's been a day, and she still hasn't heard anything from the men. Afraid, she decided to visit their secret hideouts, but when she got there, she was shocked by what she saw. On the ground were the lifeless bodies of the men. She searched around for Daniela, but she couldn't find her. It was then she knew that something was very wrong. But just as she turned to leave, some policemen were waiting for her. "Mother, you are under arrest," they said. "Are you silly? Why are you arresting me?" she said angrily. "When you get to the station, we will explain better," one of the policemen said. Aria was handcuffed and placed in the police van. When she arrived at the police station, she was shocked to see Daniela and her husband sitting in the waiting area. "Daniela, how? But before she could finish her word, Daniela landed her a dirty slap. "You are shocked, right? I can't believe you tried to kill your only child just to cover up for your sins. Mother, I'm very ashamed of you." "Babe, I'm innocent," Aria cried out, but Jude didn't even look her way. Before now, Daniela had told her father all she had been going through. She equally told him about Salem and how he was unalived by her mother. Mr. Jude was very surprised and apologized to Daniela for not always being there for her. After a little investigation, Mr. Jude also discovered that it was Aria who unalived his first wife, Maria. He was disappointed in himself for failing to see the demon in Aria, and from that day, he promised to turn a new leaf. The day before Daniela was kidnapped, Salem already told her about everything, and so she just acted along, pretending like she knew nothing. Aria was later charged to court and found guilty of all charges. The court uncovered a shocking list of her crimes: the premeditated unaliving of her twin brother Salem, the poisoning and death of her own parents, the elimination of her husband's first wife Maria, conspiracy to kidnap and harm her own daughter Daniela, and multiple counts of fraud and embezzlement from the family company she had unlawfully taken over. Witness testimonies, her personal diaries, and forensic evidence left no room for doubt. The judge described her as a woman consumed by greed, driven by envy, and devoid of remorse. In the end, Aria was sentenced to life imprisonment with hard labor. All her illegal acquired properties were confiscated by the state, and her position in the company was permanently dissolved. As she was led away in handcuffs, Daniela stood silently, knowing that justice had finally been served, not just for her, but for every soul Aria had wronged. This story teaches us that greed and envy may promise us gain, but they always lead to destruction. No secret stays buried forever, and every evil deed will eventually return to comfort its owner. True wealth lies in love, integrity, and the peace of a clear conscience. Thank you so much for watching, and stay blessed.